Great. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We are here for the monthly hub meeting. And if you wouldn't mind, if you want to just go ahead and put your name and hub region, and we do have our icebreaker, and that is, what was your favorite game to play during recess? Let's see, I'll post it in the chat. And I will read a couple off. We have Renee Brandon, Southern Tetherball champion here. Ooh, Renee, that was going to be mine. So we might have to have a tetherball competition next time I see you. So we'll see. Aaron Barch, Blue Mountain. We would roller skate in the empty parking lot. Abby, was that Abby next? Abby Foursquare from Northwest Early Learning Hub. Liz Farrar Campbell, Early Learning Council. Tetherball too. I think we have a team at this point. Let's see. I'll do one more. Krista Harris, Early Learning Hub of Central Oregon. Capture the Flag. Those are great. And you can kind of continue to read others in the chat. And I think with that, I will pass it to Nancy, who's going to move us through the agenda.
Thanks, Maria. I'm a tetherball fan too. Welcome, everybody. Let's get started with Early Learning Council engagement. I'll go ahead and hand it over to Chair Miller.
All right, thanks, Nancy and Maria. Good afternoon, all of you wonderful directors. Good to see you again. And once again, we appreciate having time on your agenda. And as you know from the questions that were sent out ahead of time, mostly what we want to do today is to listen to you, looking ahead to the coming months and year. How do you want us to connect with you and you to connect with us? What will be the best use of your time, most efficient way to do it, whether it's through these meetings, through other forums? We're just open to any input and feedback, and it just needs to be really honest. You don't have to say this is my favorite half hour of the month, so we definitely want to keep doing these. You can say this is not my favorite half hour of the month, and we could do something different. So let me ask my fellow council members to introduce themselves before we go into the breakout rooms and see if Liz or Subin has anything to add. So Liz, will you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Liz Farrar Campbell, out in Eastern Oregon and member of the Early Learning Council. Good to see you all again.
Thanks, Liz. And Subin.
Hello, my name is Subin O. I'm one of the Early Learning Council members as well. I don't have anything to add. Thank you for letting me be here.
Okay, thanks, Subin, for being here. Okay, any questions before we go into our breakout rooms, or thoughts, additional questions you all want to throw into this conversation? Thanks, Rod. You're very sweet. We appreciate that. Okay, let's hit the breakout rooms and then we'll come back and share what we've learned. Thank you, Gabby, or whoever's doing this.
All right, I think, are we going to do a large group share out of what?
Sure. Let's
Yeah,
do that.
great.
Subin, are you still here?
I am.
Oh, good.
I wasn't ready for a share out, but I can be.
Sure.
How much time do I have?
You have about 4 minutes.
Wow, that's a lot of minutes. Okay, all right.
Oh, good.
All right. I will share that there was a general, overwhelming, actually, not just general, overwhelming positive feeling of the council's participation in these monthly meetings. I'm seeing nodding heads, so it seems to be showing up in the other groups as well. There was one question that I think is like worth kind of investigating, which is it seems like each of the meetings have been really full agendas with lots of learning, lots of content. We tends to run out of time at the end, so they do wonder if that's a reason enough to kind of question the frequency of monthly time where the council members are there. Although the benefit of having the council there every month is reciprocity, trust building, stronger connection and understanding between the council and the hub. So it's pros and cons. We got to weigh those things. The another thing that we heard is that while it's great to have the council member there listening in and taking away and hearing and learning, I think some of the hub directors were really eager to actually hear from the council. What are their perspectives? What are their viewpoints? What are their takes on some of the things that are going on? There was a big question that I think the Early Learning Council also grapples with, which is vision setting. Who holds the vision? Where is the vision? How are hubs plugging into that vision? Is there some sort of framework that is either a companion or that aligns with Raise Up Oregon that goes a little bit deeper into more specific indicators and mile markers and things like that, so that hub directors know that they're moving in the right direction. The other thing around that was that we're in a climate now where because there's so much uncertainty from our federal government, that we need to be prepared to be responsive and adapt quickly. And right now there isn't a high degree of confidence that we would be able to do that if there were some really tragic things happening in our field. Let's see, what else? There was a lot of positivity around the build facilitation, the components that build facilitated, and how if there were the manner in which things were facilitated could be modeled for other activities. That could be good. There was a note on wanting to follow up more on Raise Up Oregon. If that is the plan, if that is the 5-year plan, there needs to be more of a follow-up on how we're getting involved there. Another kind of really important discussion we were having was that there are some Early Learning Council folks who come in. There are some DELC folks who come into this meeting, but there are other DELC folks that the hub directors probably should be hearing from. So for example, we were talking about the Every Child Belongs and how it might be important to get more regular updates. No, actually, not just updates, but more of a conversation with John Reeves and his team and what they're doing with Every Child Belongs. And the reason why I paused on that word updates is updates aren't as useful as a problem-solving collaborative conversation with the hub directors. Sometimes it feels like the hub directors are being talked at and being delivered news of which they have no control, as opposed to being asked for their input, advice, perspective of what's going on the ground. And I know those types of agendas are harder to put together, but I think worth the effort. Is there anything else that I missed from our group? It was a largely positive meeting discussion. Yes.
Great input. Okay, thanks, Subin. Liz, how about your group?
Yeah, so we had many of the same themes that Subin just outlined. I think in general, I think folks felt like this is a helpful place and structure. There was a lot of positive feedback around having the small breakout groups, allowing plenty of engagement. Two-way, I would say, is valued, so that it, to sort of piggyback off what Subin said, is not just us reporting the news, but actually asking for and providing space to hear meaningful feedback. So all of that was great. Let me see what else. Talked about how this is really an important space to continue to develop relationships between the hub directors and members of the council. The feeling was that monthly is an appropriate cadence, but maybe with to make sure that we have some flexibility so that if there is something big that's coming up that maybe DELC needs the entire time, or something that the hub directors really need to use that whole space, that the council members can be flexible. But in general, the idea that we are being intentional about holding space for this connection, and having questions that the hub directors can reflect on prior, I felt like that was a good format. Let me see what else. One of the, I think, really constructive feedback was also to make sure that after council members have heard this feedback, that we are closing the feedback loop and coming back to the hub directors to sort of share how we used what we heard and maybe how we've changed certain things that based on that feedback. So making sure as a council that if we're going to spend the time here, that we're also being thoughtful about circling back and sharing how that information and feedback was used in our work. Let's see, in terms of other things that we could be doing, several excellent suggestions. One was that DELC is starting a Caring Communities kind of tour, for lack of a better term, coming out to visit the hubs in person and meet with some of the partners and kind of see some of the initiatives. There was a lot of feedback that maybe if council members are able and willing to attend with some of those DELC staff, that might be helpful in deepening that connection and also seeing what's happening on the ground. Which I'm excited because one of them is coming to the Condon Early Learning Center, which is 2 blocks from my house. So you can put me down for sure for that one. But I also am actually very interested in going to other regions. There was also, we sort of echoed the engagement and that happened during the builds facilitation, and the council members who were able to participate in that got a lot of good feedback from that. We talked a little bit about ways that the council might be able to engage with backbones specifically, and maybe talk about the value of the early childhood system and the role that the hubs are playing in that, how that connects with what the Early Learning Council is doing. So some ideas were maybe thinking about doing a separate meeting that was with council members, hub directors, and inviting backbone agencies to sort of sit around a table and have a conversation about strategic plans and kind of sharing those and really trying to elevate what the hubs are doing, particularly for hubs that may be struggling with some of their backbones. And then also sort of talked about ways that the council can engage, not necessarily directly with hub directors. So I gave the example that I am, for those who don't know, a former county commissioner. And so I'm going to be going and talking to Association of Oregon Counties about the role of early childhood, why they need to care about it. One of the action items I plan to give them is that they need to be reaching out to each of you to talk about how they can get engaged. And so I was asking for feedback, is that helpful? And so looking for other opportunities for us to engage with some of those other actors on a regional level that could be engaging that maybe aren't right now. So there was lots of good feedback about maybe doing that with school administrators, maybe with ESD administrators, to really try to get folks who are on the ground on a regional level to be engaging with the hub directors as a way that Early Learning Council members could help. So that's basically it, I think. Did I miss anything from our committee?
Okay, it's going to be a busy year ahead. Those are great ideas. I love that brainstorming. So for our group, we had some of the same comments that you've heard from the first 2 groups who reported. This whole idea of, having it be a 2-way dialogue. So some people were suggesting, a lot of our meetings have been us listening to hub directors, And they were suggesting that if we could give some feedback to them as well, that we want to make sure it's bi-directional. But like the idea of getting to know council members, so I think having hopefully all council members pepper into these meetings periodically so that they get to know hub directors and vice versa. There was also a plea to get the discussion questions earlier. So I think Maria, Nancy, and Gabby will have to work on that. I know I like to get questions, 5 to 6 days ahead of a meeting. So if we can try to do that in the future, I think that would be great. Wanted to have us continue to try to tie these discussions to council agendas. And we've tried to do that the last few months to get your input as we put a future council agenda together. So I think continuing to do that, and Gabby will be kind of the key to helping coordinate that. We had some discussion, and we've had this in earlier meetings too, about how we get what agency directors learn at a council meeting to filter down to their regions and their districts. And vice versa, how we try to ensure that what's happening at their regional level bubbles up to the agency directors. So that'll take some work, and probably not in the next couple of months. So I'll have to see where everything lands this fall. But I think it's that continued, how do we really work with the agency partners, especially the non-DELC partners who have huge agencies, and pretty much they go birth to death. They don't have the luxury of doing prenatal to 5. So we've talked about that as a council many times, and we just need to do that again. A suggestion was that the council will be meeting in October for its annual retreat, and trying to get some input from hub directors as far as priorities that they would suggest, I think would be really wise, perhaps on the September phone call, to feed into the retreat would be really helpful. Yeah, and doing anything we can to make sure we're all as aware as we can be about what changes are coming. And we'll know that this fall as well. And I think our partners are all going to have information on their websites about what the impacts are once we know them. I think those were the main idea. Did I forget anything or skip over anything? Okay. So bottom line, I think, is we all are enjoying these meetings. They generally are productive. I really appreciate Gabby, Nancy, and Maria organizing them and structuring them for us. And it'll, I think, be a fun way to continue to build relationships in the months ahead. And we all take the summer off, so it'll be, well, after June 25th, when we're going to adopt your rules, yay. Then we'll take the summer off and come back in September. So any other comments? Yeah, Subban.
Just real quick, there was another really important conversation that I think happened in our group, was the idea of having hub representation at the Early Learning Council meetings, which is an idea Peter Buckley has shared with us as well. And so I just wanted to just make sure I was representing the group well.
Okay, thanks, Subban. Yeah, obviously you're all welcome to tune in anytime. That's what it means to be there is the question, I guess.
Yeah, just to add to that, Sue, I know it gets a little bit tricky just with the statute in terms of getting a hub rep directly appointed to that. So that's really one of the big I guess, reasons why we can't directly appoint a hub director to really kind of, be sitting on the council. Really kind of just looking to statute. But like Sue mentioned, happy to work with you all if there's anything else that I can do to kind of include you all in the meetings. We do have, I transitioned it to Zoom webinar, so you don't have to do the YouTube live stream. But if there's, we do try and limit just who's in the main meeting room oftentimes, just, yeah, literally for facilitation reasons, but happy to kind of work with this group to see if there's something that we can kind of reach, or just we can talk about that as well, Sue.
Right, and obviously, there are other really key partners, like the CCR&Rs. So the council's got to figure out, how do we connect with some of these key partners without whom we can't build a system. So.
Thank you so much,
Oh.
Sue and Liz and Subin and Gabby, and all the hub directors here. That was a really great conversation. I really enjoyed sitting in on the group with Subin. It was a lot of great information. So thanks, everyone. And next, we're going to turn to Becky and Joel for the Community Systems Team update.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nancy. And wow, that just, hi, everybody. It sounds like you just had such productive discussions. And I just love seeing how everybody's continuing to build and adapt this space and this community that you've built in this meeting. And it's really great to be here today to join you. And I'm sorry I haven't been able to attend all the monthly meetings so far. I've been attending a mandatory weekly DELC foundational training program, and it was scheduled for Tuesdays. So unfortunately had to miss a couple of these monthly meetings. But I'm almost finished now, and the remaining sessions shouldn't interfere with these monthly meetings. So I can't believe I've been here at DELC for 4 months now. And now that I'm an expert, I'm looking forward to being here with you as much as possible. But I just wanted to say again that it was such a joy meeting with each of you one-on-one, and also having the opportunity to meet with many of the CCR&R directors one-on-one as well. And I will just plan to continue to join some of your one-on-one check-ins with Nancy and Maria, if that's okay, just so I can stay connected with you all and we can continue to grow our relationships. I had a few reflections. I don't want to talk at you for too long. I'm hoping that I can also just engage with you on a couple of things. But I did, Liz mentioned the Caring Communities Tour. We've had 4 stops so far. And we visited Lynn, Benton, Lincoln, Clackamas, Frontier in Harney and Grant counties, and Southern in Jackson and Josephine counties. And I'm so fortunate to have been able to attend all 4 of those events. And I just want to say that it was truly both inspiring and eye-opening to have the chance to see early learning and care in action, and to sit with some of you in your communities that you know and care so much about, and to hear about the accomplishments that you've achieved and some of the barriers that you're currently facing. It's just, it was incredible to hear about the ways that you're all convening and connecting and capacity building, and how you're advancing your region's early childhood system. Just a few of the things. I saw you supporting children and families, and I got to see children singing and playing and learning. And I heard about the lengths that some of you and those in your community have gone to create warm and safe and beautiful spaces for children, whether through building or renovation. And I saw you supporting early childhood providers, and I saw providers and coaches and administrative staff working collaboratively to provide children and each other with quality services and supports. And I saw you collaborating with CCR&Rs and principals and mental health providers and CCOs and ECSE and Head Start and so many other partners to create opportunities through relationship building and innovation. I just heard so much about that key relationship piece. I saw the boxes that you put together to give children enrichment opportunities to support them over the summer, and kiddos proudly and bravely walking into their future elementary school to learn about the transition to kindergarten, and a beautiful family community center where the offerings available to community are anchored to protective factors. And I got to learn about some of the gaps and challenges that you're navigating. And I'm really grateful for the insights that you shared. And I can't wait to get out to as many stops as I can, and to I know that there are other folks from Delk that have also had the opportunity to join and visit with you, feel similarly about just what a wonderful experience this has been so far. So just a huge thank you to all of you for making this tour possible. Just as far as a couple of things that I'm hoping to do next, in addition to continuing with the Caring Communities Tour, are to potentially attend some of your governance council meetings, and to build some connections with your backbone entities. Something that Liz mentioned and that I've also been thinking a lot about, and I'd love to engage with you about, and some of you have also broached, is what are the opportunities or sort of purpose behind specifically me, but in Delk engaging more with backbone entities. I think maybe especially for those of you who have had more recent changes in your backbone leadership, I just would be more than happy to start reaching out and engaging, introducing myself, if there are ways to help clarify any questions folks might have around roles and responsibilities. And I really wouldn't want to just default to reaching out to the contract signer for your backbone, but would prefer to reach out to each of you to help determine, who the best contacts would be. But I really just wanted to open that up to a discussion, because it is something that's come up a bit, about your thoughts on Delk, and specifically my engagement with your backbones. It sounds like you had some great conversation also in your breakout group today pertaining to engagement with the Early Learning Council. So just if there are thoughts from that would translate well to this discussion too, would just love to have a little bit of dialogue with you about that, if anybody has anything top of mind. And if not, we can always follow up more on it later. But I'll just pause for a minute, see if anybody has thoughts.
Becky, I'm seeing in the chat, Chris Coombs wrote, our backbone will have a new CEO sometime over the summer, and they would love an orientation.
Great, thank you, Chris. Yeah, and I know some folks have had new leadership come on board recently as well. You're blowing up. Any other thoughts on that topic now? And it's definitely something we can reach out to you to explore further as well. Okay, the next thing I wanted to do is just give a little update on the community systems team. We've grown quite a bit in the last 4 months. When I came on, it was a team of 2. It was Nancy and Maria, well, 3 including myself. And we have grown. So we have started to work on some one-pagers to introduce our team. But in the meantime, I just wanted to give a quick verbal rundown on all the wonderful folks that are here now in the Community Systems Office. So I will, of course, begin with Nancy and Maria, the amazing Early Learning Hub coordination team, who you all know. They really need no introduction here. Suffice it to say that they're amazing, and so they will always be for me, the OG original Community Systems original 2. And for our reconstituted team, we next have coordinated enrollment. So Mel Hanna is our coordinated enrollment specialist. She's moved over from program design and administration office. And I think most of you know Mel. I've been very pleased to begin getting to know her and her role on the team as well. And she works very closely with the Preschool Promise team. She oversees the coordination, organization, monitoring, and reporting of Promise enrollment, and which includes recruitment, eligibility, selection, and placement for Preschool Promise at Delk. She develops and refines systems to ensure Preschool Promise families meet eligibility requirements through determination, verification, and documentation. And she'll be contributing to our coordinated enrollment redesign work. And as you all know, we will soon have a coordinated enrollment analyst on the team as well, a second coordinated enrollment team member, and I'll provide more of an update on that in just a moment. But next we have our wonderful Head Start collaboration specialist, Rachel Elliott, who also joined us from Program Design and Administration Office. So the Head Start collaboration offices facilitate partnerships between Head Start agencies and local entities that provide services to benefit children from birth to school entry from families with low incomes. So she's been also playing a key role in supporting the coordinated enrollment redesign work that some of you have been engaged in over the past several months with our partners at the Build Initiative. Next, we have our Spark and Spark Redesign team, which is comprised of Ash Michaels and Halib Lowell, and they have moved over to Community Systems from the Professional Learning Office. And as I believe you all know, Spark is Oregon's quality recognition and improvement system for early childhood care and education programs, and it's being redesigned. So Ash and Halib's work is centered on redesigning Spark to be an equity-driven, continuous quality improvement system that supports early learning providers and meets diverse needs of Oregon's children and families. The Spark team works closely, the two of them, to oversee strategic planning, policy development, and cross-sector collaboration to ensure Spark is responsive, culturally relevant, and aligned with statewide goals. The team manages the programmatic components of the state's grant with the Research Institute, which is responsible for the day-to-day operations of Spark. Next, we have our Parent Education and Leadership Coordinator, Cassandra Furter. Cassandra's role is to lead the implementation of parent education and parent leadership initiatives and programs, including contract administration for OPEC hubs, oversight of Delk contracts for parent education, and oversight of Delk contracts for parent leadership training. And Cassandra is moving over to our team, or has moved over to our team from the Social Equity Office. So she collaborates with internal teams to shape agency strategy and participates in the VROOM community of practice, supporting VROOM training for early childhood professionals. We also have a new team support specialist on in our office, and her name is Karina Mendoza Lopez, and she's currently with us on a 6-month rotation and divides her time between supporting our office and the Professional Learning Office. So as you can hear, we're experiencing just a lot of transition and growth. We're working to really define our office, to build relationships with each other, and also to maintain our connections across the agency. And so I would love to find a time at a future meeting to have the team join us and really start. I know you all have different levels of connection with various team members, but as we're continuing to really define our collaboration and our team culture, it'd be great to have us connect with you as a team as well. Oh, that's a mouthful. Okay. How am I doing on time, Nancy? I wanted to give a little coordinated enrollment update, but I want to make sure I've got the time.
Yeah, you've got the time. Thanks for
Okay.
checking.
So I checked in with our grant manager, Carla Branson, who you all know, and just wanted to mention that the amendments should be going out by mid-June for the extended grant agreement. So you should see those coming out later this month for that July through March extension. And then exciting news that the coordinated enrollment analyst position has been posted. It's open until June 8th. I'll pop something in the chat for anybody who wants to learn more about the role. We're going to have an informational session on June 5th from 12 to 12:30 p.m. And I just want to thank you all so much for the feedback that you provided on the position. A lot of it was incorporated into the recruitment, so that was extremely helpful. And I wanted to just do a little update also about the coordinated enrollment work group. So I believe Rachel already gave an update last time, but just to sort of recap, that building off of all the amazing work that you all did with the Build initiative, there was a second round of Build work that was implemented with Build. And that is a work group that's comprised of Early Learning Hub directors, Head Start directors, and DELC staff. And they've been meeting monthly since December to begin working on developing that shared vision for coordinated enrollment in Oregon. And so they've been working on making recommendations to specify priorities around coordinated enrollment, and to start clarifying the roles and responsibilities at the state, regional, and community levels. So back in January, the team met, the work group met and did a situational analysis, really looking at some of the accomplishments and setbacks over the last couple of years, what the strengths and weaknesses are surrounding coordinated enrollment in present day, and then what some of the opportunities and aspirations are going forward. And in January, OPK, Head Start directors, Hub directors, and coordinated enrollment specialists also took a survey to help clarify the purpose of the why of coordinated enrollment. So then coming back together in February, that work group was able to review the results of that survey and start drafting really a purpose statement for coordinated enrollment going forward. And then back in March, the groups met to talk about what they saw as some of the must-haves or essential functions for coordinated enrollment, as well as the programs that they thought were essential to include. And then in April, the group met to talk about what some of the top functions are for coordinated enrollment. And then moving into May, the team met to talk about the types of skills organizations would need to do the work we're imagining for the revised coordinated enrollment process. And so there's going to be one more meeting in June to wrap things up with Build, who will then generate a report with recommendations, and which will excited to share, to receive and to share with you all. And then we'll continue working to figure out next steps and to identify who else should be engaged along the way and how. So I know that was so much that was just a big mouthful. If anybody has any questions, I'll take a sip of water. And then I just wanted to give you a really quick rules update and then pass it on.
Becky, I'm seeing a question in the chat from Renee. Will an org chart be available soon? It's a lot to track.
That's a great question. Do you mean an org chart just for community systems, or do you mean an agency-wide?
Well, just listening to your little description that was enormous, I was like spinning. So I think the answer is yes and yes. It would be really helpful to have an overall org chart, but definitely with the work that you're sorting out now would be helpful. We've asked for that in the past, and by the time we get it, it's already kind of outdated. And so I think it would be lovely to get another run at it. And
Okay.
that's
Okay. And Rod, I see that there too. Both please. Okay, I've made a note about the org chart. Thanks, Renee. Any other questions or thoughts on anything I've thrown out there? Okay, real quick rules update. Nancy and Maria and our legal affairs team, they've been working hard to process all of the amazing feedback that's been received through the different channels of engagement we've had going on over the past few months about the administrative rules. And a draft is slated to be posted June 18th. Per DOJ, we're unable to send updated drafts until that next draft is publicly posted. So that will be the next official draft that's available for circulation. And then the Early Learning Council, we have slated for the council to be voting on the permanent rule change June 25th. And if that moves forward, then rules would be effective October 1st of this year. Oh, I did have one, Nancy, can I just give one last update on that build?
Absolutely.
Okay. Final thing, we are waiting on a final report to really synthesize all of the work that you all did with the build initiative during that year-long process, looking at the key functions of hubs. And so I have been told that will be coming very soon. So we should have that report for you later this month. So keep your eyes posted for that. I think that, there'll be a draft coming out really soon. So just wanted to also pass that along because I know we're eager for that and you probably all are too. And then I'll pass it back to you, Nancy, for any Q&A you want to facilitate.
Thanks. Yes, does anybody have any questions for Becky?
And I should also throw it out to Joel if he had anything he wanted to add.
No, nothing to add. Thank you, Becky.
I'm not seeing any questions or anything in the chat, so I will pass it on to Maria to start. Oh, I see something from Rod. Rod?
Just a quick question for Becky. I'm just curious, if the new rules get adopted and they go into place October 1st, will there be some type of grace period for some of the requirements? Such as if there's new requirements around governance council members, but we already have a full governance council. I don't know. I'm just curious how that'll work. I'm newer, but I don't think it's right to displace a governance council member to meet the requirements of the new rule.
Yeah,
So
that's a great question, and I'm pretty much going to defer to Joel, except to say that I think when it comes to the new rules or to the new grant agreements, that we're very much wanting to move into all of that from a place of partnership and collaboration and support. So I would expect that we would, I don't know what the official response is, but that we would be working with you to figure out how to transition in any way that was required along the lines of the new rules. Joel, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, that's generally our approach, right? Is that we're going to be working with folks on implementation. And I don't think that there's anything that will cause dramatic changes in the current rules. We've been very thoughtful about trying to incorporate the feedback folks have given us in the newest draft.
Thanks, Becky. Thanks, Joel. Maria?
Great. Thanks, everyone. I just wanted to come by with a couple of updates that I know we emailed out to you all, but just wanted to make sure that it was on your radar. We did go ahead and cancel the joint collaborative with the CCR&Rs that was planned for the fall. And we are still continuing to plan for a gathering for hubs in the fall and more to come. We are going to be sending out a survey with a couple of dates, and we will just be planning, but it will just be a hub gathering that we're going to be planning for. But the one that was originally planned for in September as a joint collaborative has been canceled. And then I think the second announcement is that we also have emailed you, but we will be canceling our July and August meetings. And then we will be sending out those cancellations, and you will be getting a fresh invite for the September meeting and onward. And that will be, we will be extending the time. It will be from 12:30 to 2:30, and you will get a fresh invite. So please be on the lookout for those. And I think those are my updates. Any questions about that? All right. Nancy?
Yeah, I have two very quick updates. As far as the quarterly report, we just wanted you to know that we are continuing to refine the quarterly report smart sheet that you saw. And we're updating it and improving it based on your input. And so if you or anyone on your team is interested in providing feedback to us one-on-one, which we have found to be really helpful, please reach out to us. A special shout out to Christy and Matt, Renee, Rod, and Jen for their detailed feedback on the quarterly report. We are getting there. And then for the KPI peer learning, we updated your calendar invites. That is now scheduled for July 9th. It was going to be scheduled during the July 4th week. So we just pushed that a week back, a week forward, I should say. And I believe that's it. I think that just leaves the hub meeting exit survey, which we can put in the chat. You've got 8 whole minutes that we're going to give you back. And if some of that could be, if 2 minutes of that could be to complete the survey, we would really appreciate it. We always want to improve these meetings. And with that, thank you so much for your engagement and time. We really appreciate it. Marie and I will stick around for a little bit if anyone has anything they want to share.